remember the first time I suspected something was wrong. It wasn't a text. It wasn't a call. It was the way he smiled at me, that fake, practiced smile like he had rehearsed it for someone else. At first, I ignored it. I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe I was just stressed, tired, overthinking, but then came the small things. His phone screen lighting up in the middle of the night, his sudden mood swings, his excuses that didn't add up, and the worst part, the way he avoided my questions. Not with anger, not with defensiveness, but with silence. It was a silence louder than any argument, and it screamed one terrifying truth. He was hiding something. One evening, he told me he had to run an errand, nothing unusual. I didn't think twice, but hours passed, and he didn't answer his phone. I tried calling. No answer. I tried texting. Nothing. My stomach twisted. That's when I noticed his jacket was still on the chair. His keys weren't on the table, and his wallet missing. Panic rose in my chest, but I forced myself to breathe. Something told me this was just the beginning. I couldn't sit still. I paced the living room, my phone in hand, staring at the blank screen. Every vibration made my heart jump. Every silence made it sink. Hours passed. And then, finally, a notification, a text from an unknown number. Don't look for him. You'll regret it. My hands shook as I read it. What did that mean? Who was this? I called him again. No answer. My mind raced. Was he in trouble? Was he hiding something from me? I remembered the small things I had ignored before: the perfume that wasn't mine, the extra phone charger he always carried, the way he glanced at his phone when he thought I wasn't looking. It all added up now. The signs were clear. Someone else was in his life. I couldn't help it. I started searching his email, social media, the apps on his phone, anything that could tell me the truth. And then I found it, a hidden chat carefully concealed, filled with messages I was never supposed to see. Messages from a woman he had met months ago. Messages that weren't just flirtatious. They were intimate, secret, forbidden. The words burned on the screen. Promises he had made to her, that he had broken for me. Plans he had whispered to her, that he had pretended never to dream about with me. I felt my chest tighten. Tears stung my eyes. I wanted to scream, to hit something, to wake up from this nightmare. And then the worst part hit me. It wasn't just one message. It wasn't just one night. It was months. He had built a life of lies while I thought we were building a life together. And now, the truth was in my hands, but I couldn't confront him yet. Not without knowing everything. Not without preparing for the storm that was coming, because once he knew I had found out, there would be no turning back, and I wasn't sure I was ready for what he would do next. I spent the rest of the night staring at the screen, unable to sleep. Every notification made me flinch. Every sound in the apartment felt amplified. I couldn't believe he had been living this double life. The texts, the secret calls, the hidden moments, all of it painted a picture I never wanted to see. By morning, I knew I had to act. Not to yell, not to beg, not to confront him blindly. I had to understand the full story first. I started piecing together the evidence, the timestamps of messages, the locations he had worked late, the patterns that showed exactly when he had lied, and then I found something worse: photos taken months ago, in places he had told me he was alone. There she was, smiling at him, laughing at jokes only he knew how to make. Intimate moments I would never share with anyone. Stolen by lies. I felt sick. My hands trembled as I scrolled through everything. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst, but I didn't want to just react. I needed a plan. I needed to be the one in control, and that's when I saw it. A message that hadn't been sent yet, drafted, waiting, to someone else entirely. My blood ran cold. He wasn't done. This wasn't just a past mistake. It was ongoing. I couldn't stay silent. I couldn't ignore it. I had two choices: confront him now and risk everything, or wait and watch the truth unfold on my terms. I chose the second. because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't anger. It's knowing the truth and letting the other person destroy themselves with it. But little did I know, the moment I found this message, he already knew I was watching. That evening, I pretended everything was normal. I laughed when he walked in. I asked about his day. I even made his favorite dinner, but every move, every word was a test, a careful observation. Because now, I wasn't the one being deceived. I was the one watching. He smiled at me unaware. He told me he had a late meeting, then added, almost casually, I ran into someone today. Just an old friend. My stomach twisted. I forced a smile. Really? That's nice. He didn't notice the cold edge in my voice. He didn't see the tension in my hands as I set the plates on the table, and that's when it happened, a notification. His phone, sitting on the counter. The screen lit up with a message preview. Can't wait to see you tonight. Don't let her know. I froze. Every muscle in my body locked. He glanced at me, smiling, completely oblivious. I swallowed the scream, threatening to escape. I kept my face calm. I poured his water. I asked about his meeting. He shrugged. Nothing much. Just work stuff. I knew the truth. I knew everything. And now, the question was, what would I do with it? Because the second I confronted him, everything would change. And the life I had known would be gone forever. For now, I stayed silent. I watched him, and I waited. Little did he know, the real storm was only just beginning. The next morning, I couldn't eat. I couldn't think. I couldn't even breathe properly. I kept replaying that message over and over. Can't wait to see you tonight. Don't let her know. I knew I had to act. But I also knew confronting him directly would give him a chance to lie, manipulate, or twist the truth. No, not this time. I started planning carefully. Every move I made was deliberate. Every word I said was calculated. I needed proof. Concrete proof. Something undeniable. That evening, I watched him closely. Every glance at his phone. Every flinch at a notification. Every little sign I had missed before. And then, it happened. He left his laptop open. The screen displayed an email, an exchange between him and her, not flirtatious, not casual, but something darker. Plans, meetings, secrets he had hidden even from me. I didn't panic. I didn't scream. I didn't even touch the laptop. I just stared and waited, because I had one advantage he didn't expect. I knew he would underestimate me. I knew he would believe I was still naive, still in love, still oblivious. But I wasn't. Hours later, he returned home, acting calm, pretending everything was normal, pretending the night hadn't existed. I smiled. A soft, quiet smile, one that didn't reach my eyes. He noticed. Are you okay? He asked. Why do you look different? I leaned closer, almost whispering. I think it's time you tell me everything. His smile faltered. For the first time in months, I saw fear in his eyes. The same fear I had felt when I discovered the first hidden message, but multiplied, because he knew. This time, I wasn't just watching. This time, I was ready. He froze as I spoke. Not angry, not defensive, just frozen, like a man who had finally realized he was cornered. I know about her, I said softly, letting the words hang in the air. I know about all the lies. The nights you weren't where you said you were. The messages you never wanted me to see. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Nothing came out. I stepped closer. I found everything, I continued. The texts, the photos, the emails. You thought I wouldn't see them, but I did. Every single one. Now his eyes darted nervously, searching for something. An excuse, a lie, anything. You, how? He stammered finally. I didn't. I cut him off with a single glance. I don't want excuses. I don't want apologies. I don't even want your explanations anymore. He looked at me, panic rising in his expression. I can fix this. I can. I shook my head slowly. No, you can't. Because this isn't about what you can fix anymore. It's about what I deserve. He sank onto the couch, defeated. For the first time, the mask was gone. The charming, confident man I once knew was gone too. I held his gaze, unwavering. You wanted to hide your life from me. Now, I hold your truth, and I can leave, or I can stay, and watch you destroy yourself. His breathing grew shallow. I never wanted to hurt you, he whispered. I didn't. You didn't want to hurt me? I echoed, voice low but deadly calm. Then why did you? Why the lies? Why betray the person who trusted you most? He opened his mouth, but no words could fill the void between us. I stepped back, calm but fierce. This is the last time I'll let you have power over me. The next time, you won't even know I exist in your world. For the first time in months, he was silent, truly silent, the weight of his own choices crashing down on him. I picked up my coat, my bag, and walked toward the door. He didn't move. He didn't stop me, and as I opened the door and stepped outside, I realized I wasn't just leaving him. I was leaving the fear, the betrayal, the pain, and reclaiming every piece of myself he thought he could take. But just as I reached the car, my phone buzzed. An unknown number, a message. You think you're free, but he's not the only one hiding things from you. I froze. The story wasn't over. My heart skipped a beat as I read the message. You think you're free, but he's not the only one hiding things from you. I froze, gripping my phone like it could explain everything. The fear I thought I had escaped returned sharper, colder, more dangerous. Who else? What else? I glanced around the quiet street. Empty, no one following me. But the feeling didn't leave, like something terrible was about to surface. I typed back carefully. Who is this? What do you mean? No reply. I walked faster, heart racing, mind spinning. The night air felt heavy, suffocating. The city lights blurred through my tears, and then my phone buzzed again. A photo.it was him, with someone else. Not just another woman, a man. The words escaped me in a whisper. No, it can't be. It was him, smiling, laughing, holding hands with someone I didn't know. All the secrets, the lies, the betrayal, it was deeper than I could have imagined. All this time, I thought I knew the full story. I thought the betrayal had boundaries. I thought I understood who he was. I was wrong, and the anonymous message, it wasn't a threat. It was a warning that his web of lies went further than I had ever suspected. I couldn't process it. My head spun. My legs trembled. I wanted to run, scream, collapse, but instead, I did something I never thought I could. I smiled, not because I was happy, not because the betrayal didn't hurt, but because finally, I realized something crucial. The deeper the lies, the greater the power of truth. I may not know everything yet. I may not understand why he lived this double life, or how many secrets were still buried, but one thing was certain. I was done being the victim. I was done being afraid. I was done letting anyone's darkness define my life. And as I stood on that street, phone in hand, heart racing, I made a promise to myself. No matter what else I uncover, I will survive. I will rise. And I will be stronger than the man who thought he could destroy me. The phone buzzed again. Another message, but this time, I didn't open it, because some truths are more powerful when you face them on your own terms, and some storms are meant to show you exactly how strong you really are. The next morning, I woke up feeling restless. The unease from the night before didn't leave me, it grew heavier. I kept replaying his errand in my mind. The subtle excuses, the fleeting glances, and now, the unknown text warning me that someone else was involved. I couldn't ignore it. Something told me the truth was deeper than I had imagined. I decided to retrace his steps. The places he claimed to have gone, the people he said he met. I wanted evidence, concrete proof, something undeniable. Hours later, I found myself outside a cafe he frequented. I waited quietly, hiding behind a pillar, blending in with the morning crowd. I watched the door. I watched the street. And then I saw him, not alone. A woman approached him, smiling. not casually smiling closely, intimately. They embraced in a way that made my chest tighten. They whispered something, their heads close together. Then they laughed, the laugh. That sounds so familiar, yet it wasn't meant for me. I felt my heart twist painfully, but I stayed hidden. I couldn't let him see me, couldn't let him know I was watching, and that's when it hit me. He had been living a life I didn't know existed. A life where lies were currency, and my trust just collateral. I backed away slowly, trembling. But my phone buzzed, a message from the unknown number. You're closer than you think, but be careful. Some truths can destroy you. I stared at it, my hands shaking. Was this warning, a threat, or just confirmation that I had stumbled into something far bigger than I realized? I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't ignore him anymore. And I couldn't confront him without being prepared, because now, the game had changed. He wasn't just hiding the affair. He was hiding something even darker. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, him and her, laughing, whispering, pretending the world didn't exist outside their bubble of lies. I kept thinking about the message. Some truths can destroy you. What did that mean? Was there more I didn't know? Had I only scratched the surface of his deception? The next morning, I decided to take action. I logged into his email, his messages, his social media. At first, I found small things, deleted texts, hidden photos, emails marked private, but then, I stumbled onto something bigger, a folder labeled plans. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were messages, documents, and photos, evidence of secrets he had meticulously hidden. Not just about her, not just about the affair, but about things I never thought he would do, or even plan. I felt a cold, creeping fear. Part of me wanted to close it, to pretend I hadn't seen anything, but another part of me knew I had to see everything. Hours passed as I sifted through the contents. Names I didn't recognize, places I had never been, conversations that didn't make sense until patterns started to form. And then I saw a name I did recognize. It wasn't her. It wasn't anyone I had suspected. It was someone close to me, someone I trusted, someone who I never thought could betray me, but had been quietly helping him hide his lies. My stomach turned. I felt my world cracking. That's when my phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. You found more than you bargained for. Be careful, he's dangerous when cornered. I dropped the phone. I couldn't move. I couldn't think, and in that moment, I realized I wasn't just dealing with an affair anymore. I was trapped in a web of secrets, lies, and people who I thought I could trust. The question now wasn't just whether I could confront him. It was whether I could survive the truth. I spent the rest of the day planning every step I would take, every word I would say, every reaction I would anticipate, because this wasn't just about confronting him anymore. It was about protecting myself. It was about uncovering the full truth. And it was about surviving whatever he had planned next. That evening, he walked in like nothing had happened. His smile, his casual greeting, his fake warmth, it all felt heavier than ever. I sat across from him at the dinner table, pretending to be calm, normal. But my eyes never left him. Every movement, every glance, every hesitation. I noticed it all. He reached for my hand. I missed you today, he said softly. I didn't mean to worry you. I pulled my hand back slowly, deliberately. You missed me? I asked, my voice quiet but sharp. Or you missed yourself? He froze. His eyes flicked down. A subtle twitch in his jaw betrayed the lie he had just told. I leaned closer, lowering my voice. I know about her. I know about the hidden messages. I know about the people you've involved, the lies you've told, the plans you've kept from me. I've seen everything. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I continued, relentless. And I've also learned that it's not just her. Someone else close to me has been helping you hide your secrets. I don't know why, and I don't care. But I do know this. I am not afraid anymore. And I will not be silenced. For the first time, He looked genuinely afraid. The confident, charming man I had once known, gone. All that remained was a man cornered, desperate, exposed. I can fix this, he stammered. No, you can't, I said, my voice calm but deadly. You can't undo the truth. You can't erase what you've done. And you can't control me anymore. He sank into the chair, defeated, silent. Finally, I felt the power shift, and then, my phone buzzed. Another unknown message. You think you've uncovered it all, but he's not finished. Be ready for the next move. I dropped the phone onto the table, heart pounding. The room felt colder, darker, and in that moment, I realized this confrontation was only the beginning. The storm was far from over, and the man I thought I knew was capable of far more than I could have imagined. I couldn't sleep that night. Every corner of my apartment felt heavier, darker, like the walls themselves were whispering secrets I wasn't ready to hear. The messages, the photos, the lies, the betrayal. It all weighed on me like a storm I couldn't outrun, and then my phone buzzed again. One final message from the unknown number. He's coming back. Be ready. My hands trembled as I read it. My heart raced, but something inside me shifted calm. This time, fear didn't control me. This time, I controlled the storm. The next morning, he showed up at my door, confident, charming, acting like nothing had changed. But I was ready. I opened the door slowly. Hello, he said, smiling. I didn't smile back. I know everything, I said, my voice steady, unshakable. He froze. For the first time, the mask slipped. I can explain, he stammered. No, I interrupted. You can't. You lied. You betrayed. You hid entire pieces of your life from me, and now, I know you for who you really are. His face paled. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said. I understand that the person I loved doesn't exist. I understand that the life I thought we had was a lie. And I understand that some people will never change. He opened his mouth again, but I didn't let him speak. You wanted to hide everything from me, I continued. But I've uncovered it all. And now, it's over. Tears welled in his eyes, but I felt no pity. Only power. Only clarity. Only freedom. I stepped back. I'm done, I said. You'll never manipulate me again. You'll never lie to me again. And the next time someone crosses my path, I'll recognize the warning signs immediately. He lowered his gaze, defeated. I closed the door behind me, and as I walked away, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace, the betrayal, the lies, the secrets, they were all behind me. The storm had passed, but just as I thought it was over, my phone buzzed one last time, a final message. You think you're free, but the truth always has a way of catching up. I smiled softly, because this time, I wasn't afraid. No matter what else comes, I know my strength, I know my power, and I know that some truths are only dangerous if you let them control you. I slipped my phone into my bag, took a deep breath, and walked into the sunlight. Finally free, finally alive, finally unbreakable.